The waiter hadn't even finished pouring the water when my son's wife laughed and said, loud enough for the whole restaurant to hear, "I told you not to bring him here. This place isn't for people like that." The room went quiet in a way that only happens when something ugly is said out loud. My name is Joy. Most people call me Grandpa Joy. I'm 72 years old, my back a little bent from decades of honest work, my hands rough, my clothes simple. I don't look like money anymore, if I ever did. But what I carry inside me, that's something no one at that table bothered to ask about. We were sitting at one of those fancy restaurants with dim lights, polished cutlery, and menus without prices. My son Aaron sat across from me, stiff as a stranger. His wife, Melissa, sat beside him, her lips curled in a smile that had no warmth in it. From the moment I walked in, I knew I didn't belong in her world. She had been dropping little comments all evening. "Oh, Dad, you don't need to read the menu. Just order something cheap. Careful with the glass, they charge a lot if you break it." And then that sentence, the one that cut deeper than she probably intended, or maybe exactly as deep as she wanted. People stared, the waiter froze. I felt my ears burn, but I didn't say a word. I looked at my son. Surely he'd say something. Surely he'd defend his own father. Aaron cleared his throat and avoided my eyes. "Melissa," he said quietly, "maybe lower your voice." That was it, that was all. Something inside me sank, not broke, just sank, like a stone dropped into deep water. Melissa leaned back, crossed her arms and said, "Why should I? I'm embarrassed. Look at him. He doesn't even fit in here. People are staring." She was right, they were staring, but not at me. At her. I straightened my back as much as my old bones allowed and said calmly, "If you're ashamed of me, child, that's your burden to carry, not mine." She scoffed, "See, always playing the victim." Before I could respond, Aaron stood up so suddenly his chair scraped loudly against the floor. "Dad," he said, his voice tight, "let's not make a scene. Maybe it's better if you leave." For a moment, I didn't understand. The words didn't register. "Leave," I repeated. "Yes," he said, "we'll talk later, just go." I searched his face for hesitation, for regret, for anything that told me this was hard for him. I found nothing, just discomfort, like I was an inconvenience he wanted removed. So I stood up. No shouting, no tears, no begging. I placed my napkin on the table neatly, the way my late wife taught me. I nodded at the waiter and said, "Sorry for the trouble." Then I walked out. The night air hit my face, cool and sharp. I stood there for a moment under the glowing restaurant sign, my reflection faintly visible in the glass, an old man in a worn jacket, alone. I could have gone home. I didn't. Instead, I sat on the bench across the street and let myself remember. I remembered a younger Aaron, holding my finger with his whole hand. I remembered working double shifts after his mother passed so he could stay in a good school. I remembered selling the small piece of land my father left me so Aaron could start his first business, money he never paid back and I never asked for. What Melissa didn't know, what Aaron seemed to have forgotten, was that I didn't stop building after that. A few years back, quietly, I invested what little I had left into a logistics company run by an old friend. I never bragged, never told anyone. I lived simply because I liked it that way. That little investment turned into something much bigger. While I sat on that bench, my phone buzzed. "Mr. Joy," the message read, "the deal went through. Congratulations, you're officially the majority shareholder." I smiled, not out of revenge, out of irony. I stood up and walked back into the restaurant. The waiter looked startled. Melissa rolled her eyes. "Oh great," she muttered, "he's back." I didn't look at her. I walked straight to the manager, a young man who looked nervous. "Excuse me," I said gently, "could you bring the owner, please?" A few minutes later, a well-dressed man hurried over. His eyes widened when he saw me. "Mr. Joy," he said, I didn't know you were coming tonight." Melissa frowned. Aaron stiffened. "I was just passing through," I said, but I believe there's been some confusion. The owner turned to the manager. Why wasn't I informed he was here? Sir, Melissa snapped, who is he? The owner looked genuinely confused by her tone. This, he said, gesturing toward me, is the man who funded the expansion of this entire restaurant chain. Without him, we wouldn't be standing here. Silence. You could hear a fork drop. Melissa's face drained of color. Aaron's mouth opened slightly, then closed again. I turned to my son. Aaron, I said softly, I didn't come back to embarrass you. I came back because I forgot my coat. I picked it up from the chair. Then I looked at Melissa. As for people like me, I said calmly, we're the ones who build the tables others eat at. I nodded politely to the owner. Dinner on me tonight for everyone. And then I left again, this time with my head high. Later that night, Aaron called. He cried. He apologized. He said he'd forgotten who I was. I told him, no, you forgot who you were. I still love my son. That never changed. But respect, that night I earned it back without raising my voice. Because sometimes the strongest response isn't anger. It's quiet truth, spoken at exactly the right moment.